Colorado has done something absolutely insane when it comes to the transgender madness. The state house in Colorado has passed a bill that seeks to punish parents in custody disputes who will not use the new gender pronouns or name of their own child. So if your child gets corrupted by some left-wing school teacher into believing that he's really a she, and then he goes to school every day and he's dressing like a girl when you're not there, and he changes his name, from Eric to Emma, and the whole school's calling him Emma, and he's dressing like a girl when he's at school, and nobody's told you as the parent, then if you and your spouse get a divorce, and let's say the wife wants to affirm Emma because now it comes out, and she's fine with what the school's done, and you're not, your child's gender has been reversed by a school without your knowledge or consent, and you as the dad say, that is Eric, and I'm going to sue the school for doing this, and this is outrageous, you should have brought this to me, and I will fight my crazy wife for custody over this because she should not be affirming this, and she doesn't deserve custody. I deserve at least half. I'm a good dad. They're going to make it count against you as if you are an abuser. If you refer to the kid as Eric and or call Eric he and say he's a him. This is absolute madness. It's true craziness. And it passed the Colorado State House by a party line vote. Every single Dem except one voted in favor of this madness. And it's on its way to the Colorado State Senate. What do you make of it?
There's two things. Number one, elections have consequences. And it wasn't too long ago that, Colorado sent a Native American Republican to the U.S. Senate, and Ben Nighthorse Campbell. It wasn't too long ago that Republicans were very competitive in the state, could win the state frequently in presidential elections. You have one or two elections. There's a state to the north of me where I live in Iowa here, Megyn, in Minnesota. And its culture is very similar to the one we have in Iowa, but it's a tale of two states. One has a governor in Kim Reynolds, the other a governor in Tim Walz. And if you lose at the wrong period of time to these kinds of revolutionaries and radicals, I went up and spoke to the Minnesota State Legislature's conservative caucus a year ago. And they said, hey, we've never seen things like this. I mean, this is the state that even Reagan couldn't win. Even they were like, one election changed this entire state into California. They've had a couple of bad election cycles in a row recently in Colorado. And now there is really no distinction between the Colorado State Assembly and what goes on in Sacramento every single day in California. All right. And we have to understand now, ultimately, what time it is. We cannot allow the left to gain a foothold of power because these are the things they will do wherever they get that power. But in turn now, we need to also be nominating Republicans who understand what time it is and are willing to use the power we give them to stop them from doing things to us like this. So that's the first thing that stands out to me. Number two, this is a hallmark of every totalitarian belief system. We have 7,000 years of recorded human history. And there's a couple of things that you see in every single human society, and here's one of them. Every time there's any form of strain of totalitarianism takes over in any culture or gains a foothold in any culture, they always turn the kids against their parents every single time. They always turn the children into instruments and tools of the movement, instruments and tools of the revolution, instruments and tools of agitprop and of the state, and against the parents in order to use the children essentially as some form of police force. They didn't just the brown shirts we saw in 100 years ago. That wasn't a new thing. It was just a different uniform. And so this is what you're seeing here now, and this is where this stuff was always going to go here. The one thing the late great Robert Bork was wrong about is we don't slouch to Gomorrah, we sprint. And ultimately, the reason why they hate slippery slope arguments on the left is because they're undefeated. They're undefeated. I mean, these are the questions we've been asking. How far are we going to go with all of this? By which moral standard will we draw the line? And the answer is none. There is absolutely none at all, because whatever grants leftists power and control, that is what they will utilize, because that is the foundations of the leftist belief system. Whatever grants me more power and control and turning your children against you grants me a unique amount of both.
This is so sick. And Delano, I have to tell you, it's illegal. It's unconstitutional. It will be struck down. I mean, we just had a whole case, 303 Creative, not long ago, out of Colorado, where somebody was punished by the Colorado state system for not making websites for certain members of the LGBTQ crowd. And she said that it's not consistent with my belief to celebrate, to post like videos about a trans marriage, et cetera. And the Colorado legislature said, no, you will be punished because that's not consistent with our human rights law. And the U.S. Supreme Court found in favor of the web designer, saying the state cannot force her to say certain things in support of a certain ideology that she doesn't believe. That is not consistent with the First Amendment. And similarly, the state cannot punish a father, in my hypothetical, could be a mother, whatever, for refusing to adopt fake pronouns about his or her own child. And not only that, but deprive them of custody of it. But separate and apart from all that, morally, this is deeply wrong, and trying to strong arm parents into supporting a process and an ideology that are extremely dangerous for minors.
Yeah, I think one of the most important things that any conservative legislator, policymaker, politician could do is to state unequivocally, whether you start in Genesis or the human genome, there are two sexes, male and female, and switching is not allowed. And all sort of family policy, every issue dealing with this particular subject should flow from that sort of bedrock reality. I'm not surprised Colorado got here, but I do want to caution listeners and viewers, this is not just a crazy leftist state, crazy blue state issue. This is Megyn, the scenario that you painted was exactly what a man named Jeff Younger went through. This is probably 5, 6, 7 years ago. Jeff ended up running for, he went through this in Texas. Mm-hmm. Right? And I believe that the judge in that case granted his ex-wife custody of their child, who the wife was calling Luna, right? That wasn't the boy's name. And he went on to run for office, and I mean, has talked about how difficult this particular, situation has been for him. And this is exactly what Colorado is doing. And really, to Steve's point, this is a window into the mind of leftists, where they invert reality with their words, because they have a God complex, right? So they think that they can create reality ex nihilo. Mm-hmm. They can speak words, and sort of life will sort of bend around the things that they say. So they call, quote unquote, conversion therapy when you actually affirm the sex or sexuality of a human being. And they call, quote unquote, gender affirming care when you put a kid on cross-sex hormones, on puberty blockers, when you subject, teen girls to double mastectomies and, quote unquote, gender affirming hysterectomies. So this is what they do. They try to create reality through their words, and every single one of those politicians who voted for that should be primaried. And if I was a conservative in Colorado, I would be running ads on this particular issue, targeting parents nonstop from now until the next election. Because, as you said, Megyn, this is a complete insanity. I will say this last thing here. It's important to realize that this stuff doesn't sort of just spring up out of the ether, and the kids are not just, it's not just that kids are being targeted by Disney and other, media companies. We're talking about the schools, and we've known that colleges and universities have been, sort of leftist indoctrination centers for a long time. But now the left is trying to pull this back down to K through 12. And one of the things that it must do for parents is to spark an education revolution in this country. And part of that is going to be an increasing number of parents saying, not only am I fully in favor of school choice, and that might be, universal school choice, education savings accounts in some states, but some parents are going to have to make the decision that if I want to ensure that my children are educated according to our value system, the only way to guarantee that I can do that is if I teach them myself. So I do think that you're going to see this lead to a resurgence in homeschooling in many of these states.
This was too radical for Gavin Newsom in California. The California state legislature passed a bill just like this, and Gavin Newsom refused to sign it. That's how crazy this is. And you accurately point out, Steve, it wasn't so long ago, Colorado was reddish, purple. Now it's considered blue, but there's probably a healthy red strain in there that could be revived if they go too far. And if you're too radical for Gavin Newsom, aren't you too radical for Jared Polis to sign? I mean, we're going to find out. We'll see what the Colorado State Senate does and then what Polis does. But this is crazy town. And again, the speech restrictions, I think, will be overturned as unconstitutional. All right, let's move on because I have other things I need to get to. Go quickly.
Okay. I was just going to say, if there's such a thing as the Colorado Republican Party, you just did their 2026 campaign ad. This is too radical for Gavin Newsom. It has to be too radical for Colorado. Now, I don't know if there's a Colorado Republican Party anymore, but if there is, you just did them an in-kind contribution with that.
You've heard about tariffs recently, plus inflation, supply chain disruptions. It's a lot, but there is a silver lining that most people missed. President Trump specifically exempted gold and silver bullion from the tariff talk. The administration preserved the ability to diversify into precious metals. If you are concerned about your savings, consider a free consultation with a Birch Gold precious metals specialist. The first step is to text MK to 989898 and receive your free no-obligation info kit on gold. Learn how to hold gold and silver in a tax-sheltered account. Birch Gold will help you convert an existing IRA or 401k into a gold IRA for no money out of pocket. With an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau and thousands of thankful customers, consider texting MK to 989898. Again, text MK to 989898 to claim your free info kit right now. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.